Hey everyone, welcome back to Tower TV. And as you might be able to tell, we have the Axial Capra here. I did a video on this a little while back in the beginning of winter here in Illinois. It's a little dirty from the Badlands, but we're going to do an upgrade here today on the Axial Capra kit. I built the kit, not the RTR. We have MIP axles. So as of right now with the Capra, there is no axle kit that you can buy for it that I know of. So we've picked out some MIP parts that will fit onto the Capra, and I'm going to show you guys how to make a steel axle kit if you're going to be running brushless or a high turn brushed system. So we're going to jump in. Hope you enjoy. All right, so as you can see up front here, we have all of the items that we're going to be using for this axle shaft conversion or upgrade. This is going to be our front male shaft combined with this rear female shaft. And then this male rear shaft and the same female rear shaft is going to be used for the rear. And then the same hubs and internals are going to be used for both front and rear. So I'm going to go ahead and get the old axles out of the car, and we'll be right back to install these new axles. Okay, we've now got our front and rear axles out. Here's your front axle and your old stock rear axle. And we're going to go ahead and put these over to the side right by these set screw pins. Do not lose these guys. Make sure you keep them because you are going to need them to install on the MIP axles. So make sure you keep those around, don't lose them. And we're going to go ahead and start with the front axle. So we're going to go ahead and take one of these guys out because we only need one of them right now. One of those. And grab our front male pin, and then we need two of the hubs. Now I am going to list the parts down below so you guys can definitely go and pick these up. And then we are going to need this, but we don't need all the pieces out here, so maybe just cut a small hole in this bag because you're not going to need every single one of these pieces right at this moment. Okay, we've got our front axles open and laid out on the table. Now I'm leaving these in the bags for right now. This is what comes with the hubs. I'm just going to leave them in the bags right now because we don't need them at this stage. So we're going to just put those off to the side and focus on building the axles themselves right now. We're going to go ahead and do the female half first. Take the hub and pop this little guy inside the hub, just like so. Slides in there like that. And the only two drivers you're going to need for this is a 2mm for the axles itself and then a 1.5 to get the links apart from the car. So you're going to go ahead and grab the set screw. I like to put it on the screwdriver first. And the nice thing about these MIP axles is they include this little thing of black grease and blue thread lock. Now you can put black grease inside these axles here. It's going to help them run a bit smoother, but for me personally, I don't put any grease in these because I run in light dirt or sand, and the grease is just going to stick in there and make that bind up. So I like to use no grease inside these. It's not really going to harm it, but it's also not going to help it like the black grease would help it. So we're going to go ahead and take the female axle, see how there's a hole there and a hole on the other side. We're going to slide that over above the hole on the hub side and take this pin. And there is a flat side on this pin, so you need to make sure to put the flat side facing out towards where the set screw is going to go in. Now I'll show you up close here in a second, right when I get this pin through. Okay, so see how there's a hole right in there? That's where your set screw is going to go in that we just put on that 2mm driver. So the flat side needs to be perfectly in line with that hole so it sits nice and flush. Now I'm going to dip this set screw into the blue thread lock that MIP provided us with the axles. Very nice of them. And go ahead and just put this set screw inside of the axle, or the hub, sorry. Now once you get that set screw installed, it should look something like this. Your hub should be able to dangle there, just like that with the pin. Make sure your pin is not sticking out of each side. It's got nice flush with the outside of the axle. And now we're going to go ahead and build the male half the same exact way. So once you have your rear drive shaft, it should look something like that. Again, it'll dangle just like the front one, be nice and stuck in there. And then they're gonna slide inside each other, just like so, nice and smooth. And you have a front axle built. We're gonna go ahead and install this in the car so you can see how that works, and then we'll jump to the rear axle. All right, so we've got the front half of our Capra opened here. Now, the way you're gonna put the axle in is gonna be just like this. It's just gonna fit right in there, just like that. And the reason I'm doing that is because the beefier side of the axle that's actually like covered in solid steel is gonna be closest to the ground, and the smaller part of the axle that has like the pin drives on it is gonna be towards the upper part or the back of the Capra. So it's gonna get hit by the ground less, essentially. So we're gonna go ahead and separate them and install them one at a time. And you're just gonna slide this onto the pin that's already back here for the transmission, just like the original axles. And then if you remember those pins that I told you not to lose, we're gonna use those now. Put that on your 2.0 driver and use that helpful MIP blue thread lock that was provided. And grab some thread lock. Just spin that on there. Whoop. And then you can go in and screw the pin and the set screw through the axle. So now you got your axle all buttoned in and it's not going anywhere. And now we're going to take the other axle and go ahead and slide it on to make the full axle. So slide the female onto the male half. And then we're going to have to lift up the front pumpkin in order to slide this guy on, just like so. And get that set screw pin. See how that hole right there is pointing straight up and down? We're going to spin the wheels until they match perfectly up with that hole. Just like that. Slide it back so it fits perfectly. And use that pin that you used for the stock axles again. Now the reason I don't use the set screws that come with the MIP axle kit is because they don't have that long pin that's attached to this set screw like this one. See how there's a nice pin attached to that? If there was no pin, it would just be the set screw here closest to the end of the wrench. I use that just because I know it goes all the way through the entire side of the axle and it's going to be nice and tight, and you're not going to lose any axle bond, or it's not going to break or anything like that. The hub's not going to loosen up on the pumpkin pinion gear. So there's your front axle installed. We're going to go ahead and unpackage our rear axles and then do the same exact thing. Just like we did with the front axle, we're going to go ahead and build the rears. The reason you can tell these are the rears is because it does have the longer male shaft. Female shaft is the same, but the rear shaft is a bit longer. So we're going to go ahead and do the female side first, just like we did with the front axles. And again, you have a dangling axle. There's your female half. Now we'll move on to the male half. Okay, now you have both sides of your completed rear axle. You have your female half and your male half. They can slide together. And you got a perfect length drive shaft, just like the rear one over here. It's your stock rear drive shaft, and here's your new steel drive shaft. So just as long, if not longer, than the stock one. So just like we did with the front one, we're going to go ahead and separate these and then install the skinnier one on the bottom half of the Capra, which is going to be the highest off the ground. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you at all. The bottom is the highest. It makes sense once you drive it. Go ahead and install that on the pin coming out of the transmission. And then, like earlier, go ahead and grab that pin that you had from the stock axles and grab our MIP blue thread lock. And dip it in the thread lock. And then slide your pin in. And then, like we did with the front as well, slide the female half onto the male half. And then align the pumpkin and the axle holes. That's just it's gonna be a bit snug, but it'll pop on there. There you go. And make sure we get the holes aligned. There we go. Good way to test if the holes are aligned, you can take a small screwdriver and just push it through. See how our holes aren't aligned because the screwdriver's not going through. So we just got to readjust a little bit here. And voila. See how the screwdriver went all the way through there? You can tell your holes are aligned. Grab that same pin that we used earlier on the stock axles, dip it in some thread lock, and go ahead and slide the pin into the set screw hole and tighten it up. All right, we're gonna get the rest of this Capra buttoned up and then we'll see you guys in just a second. All right, everyone, I hope this video helped you with your install of the MIP steel axles. Not very a hard install, not need of much mechanical skill or building, but of course if you built the Capra kit, you should be fine putting the axles in. Like I said in the beginning, this is a perfect upgrade for if you've already upgraded to brushless or if you're running a high turn brushed motor. Just a little bit more durability to the truck instead of worrying about stripping out the plastic ones, which we haven't done yet, but I think we're going to upgrade this guy to brushless. So just to be sure, we're going to go ahead and put those MIP steel axles in there. So thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I'll be sure to help you guys out, and see you in the next one.